for the longest time, Jacksonville was a city of potential. What has changed recently where we can start to feel the energy in the buzz building? It almost feels like we're about to pop the top.
There are opportunities that did not exist 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, because this council is unlike any other. There was $1 million of capital available for businesses like yourself to come in and borrow at a lower interest. We're now gonna make that number, $1 million, now $5 million.
In terms of Jacksonville being an underrepresented city against Miami and Tampa and Orlando, why can people be bullish about coming here, staying here, and being a part of this? Hey, welcome back everybody. Randall Thomas here with PB JAX, pioneers and builders in the city of Jacksonville, live on set at the Think Bold conference here in Jacksonville, Florida. There's been a lot of buzz and a lot of energy in the building with people who are talking about businesses, forays, nonprofits, and things that they're doing here in the city of Jacksonville. And so I thought it would make a ton of sense to bring a city councilman on to talk about what's going on. I have Councilman Rahman Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being a part of this show.
So nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. Pioneering and building. That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Yes,
and so
yes.
I wanted to have you on because when I've sat down and I've talked to people throughout the day,
Sure.
What we have discovered, especially the long tenured residents of Jacksonville, we've talked about that for the longest time, Jacksonville was a city of potential. And now what I'm pointing at is a city of opportunity.
Yes.
What has changed recently where we can start to feel the energy in the buzz building? It almost feels like we're about to pop the top.
I think it's the one word you said, opportunity. There are opportunities that did not exist 10 years ago, 5 years ago even.
Yeah.
We've got a brand new city council. I've only been on the council for about 2 years, 2.5 years, coming up on 2.5 years.
Okay.
And this 2-year mark is pretty big because this council is unlike any other. Take it like for me, I'm on a seat that has historically never been African-American, held by an African-American, never been held by a Democrat, and I'm both. Right.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in a space and the opportunity and someone who has been around the world. I spent most of my career on TV and in film and radio and lived around the world and done that kind of thing. So being able to take the wealth of those experiences and bring them back home means that you've got people at the table with decision-making opportunities who aren't doing things the way that they've always been done. And that's what innovation and opportunity is about. Doing the common thing in an uncommon way.
Is it fair to say that that's what this conference represents? Think Bold, where they're bringing people, talking about innovation and opportunity, doing things a little bit differently, getting different people in the room. It seems to be the theme of what the two gentlemen who built this conference have really put into this. That's kind of like what we're looking to get out of it. Yeah. Year after year, we've seen the growth of this conference because I think more and more people are believing in the change. Do you think that what's going on in this conference is a direct reflection of what's going on in the city?
Well, you've got to move beyond what you've done. There was a great man here. It was in my first book, Bernard Gregory. And there was a quote that I will remember forever. And he said, if you've done what you always did, you'll get what you always got.
Yeah.
I want something different. And I think that's what people see. And that's what boldness is about. Yes, I remember the moniker that we've always been the bold new city of the South. But I think it's time for us to move from that into something more innovative. I'm sure that's not going to be popular because many people say it's on a lot of our stuff, the bold new city of the South. But we're bigger than that. We're more than just a city of the South. We are a global opportunity. We're a global enterprise in Jacksonville. And so I see people doing things the way that it's never been done before. And that means the results are going to be different. So that's why you see a city that's bringing in, one of the things I did when I got here, I spent a lot of my life and career in movies. Yeah. I used that opportunity to put funds in film and TV. Our Film and TV Commission has been better funded than it's ever been funded before. Yeah. Why is that? Because there's champions of those things there. There's new development downtown that's never been before. Yeah. People are looking at downtown with a different eye. We're looking at that spot where the landing was and saying, this doesn't need to be just a piece of grass on the river, but this can be something new and different and exciting. So when you see the beer garden and the river rainfall that'll be coming and all those other great things, that's what innovation looks like. But we can't stop at that. We have to look at what's next, like the Nexus at Regency, right? That new Regency Mall project. What does the next step look like? We can't continue to do the same thing over and over again. Case in point, I've just been appointed by the council president to the JSEB, or Jacksonville Small Emerging Business Group.
I think I got it right here on the call.
There you go. You got it.
I do.
We're doing something different with JSEB.
We are.
One of the things I did not like when I got into really researching JSEB, so I'm like, wait a minute. There are 25,000 small businesses in Jacksonville. Why are there only 400 registered with JSEB?
Yeah.
So we're reworking how we certify JSEB businesses, making that process more simplified and streamlined. There was $1 million of capital available for businesses like yourself to come in and borrow at a lower interest, like 4% and below. We're now going to make that number, $1 million, now $5 million.
And when does that start?
Well, we're working on it now. It's got to go through
Okay.
legislation, but that's the plan. We've discussed it. Once we finish the plan, our last committee meeting is scheduled for next week on Thursday.
Okay.
But once we finalize that plan, we'll be able to get it adopted. And it'll probably kick in when the new budget starts, so October 1.
Okay.
But companies will be able to come in, and instead of getting up to $100,000 in financing assistance to move their business forward, they can now get $250,000.
Yeah.
And here's the beauty of that. You know, I'm as someone who has owned a business and owns a business, and I'm a consultant besides, you know, my entertainment stuff. The beautiful thing that I've discovered is most of these businesses that get these funds from JSEB pay them back before the end of the term.
Yeah.
Right? Which means there's more funds. Other businesses can not only start, but flourish. And that's what you see with cities that are moving forward: innovation and opportunity. And those are the two things that I believe that we do now better than anybody in our region.
And that you make me want to ask this question based on that, because we are in this innovation and opportunity era.
Yes.
But for the longest time, I've been in Jacksonville for 18 years. It's always been a city where progress has been kind of stopped,
Yes.
right? There's been some kind of a regression and or some kind of resistance that's keeping us from moving forward, right? But now I'm starting to see that we've had so many projects greenlit. How did we go from resistance to flourish?
You tell me, what is the one thing that we've seen different now?
I know the answer.
Political
that we're gonna
leadership.
give.
It's leadership.
Right. We have a new mayor
And a new council.
That's what I was going to
Because
get
the council
at, though.
can't do anything without the mayor. The mayor executes, the council legislates.
Is the council not heavily Republican?
Absolutely it is.
And so how are we getting out all of this past city council when they're naturally going to have a resistance to a Democratic mayor?
Here is the thing. You're looking at it as natural resistance because potholes and streetlights and infrastructure issues on the city level are not partisan. They are not Democrat. They are not Republican. They are not independent. They're issues that are bread and butter issues that are about changing our community, right? Yes, I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
There are certain things like making sure that the lights come on, making sure the water runs, making sure the garbage is picked up, that are important and indicative to doing that. So having the right people at the table in the debate with pragmatism. Not only have I been involved in community and you know, as an entertainer and as a news anchor reporter and all that, I'm also a researcher with a PhD from a top-ranked institution. So one of the things I come into the fold with is research. And when you bring the right research to the table and sit down, it gives people something else to think about. So I think we can no longer get to that space where we're just yelling and screaming and saying, well, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, because we have more similarities about us than we do differences.
Yeah.
So if we focus on the differences, we will never find the similarities and we will never find the synergy to make the change. What I've done, especially in the short time I've been on the council, is reached across the aisle to my colleagues to say, one of the biggest pieces of legislation I was able to get passed. Are you familiar with Johnny Mae Chappelle?
I'm not.
So Johnny Mae Chappelle was an African-American woman who was lynched here in Jacksonville back in 1964. She was a mother of 10. She was walking home one night and some white men drove a car from downtown Jacksonville and they said, we got to find us an inn. And they found her and they shot her and killed her. She never got redress. Courts said the bullet that killed her ricocheted off of a pole on New Kings Road and hit her. And the judge and jury said, well, she shouldn't have been standing near the pole.
Really?
That's in the record.
Yeah.
Right? Not making it up. I pulled the entire record from the Justice Department. The one man that was convicted got 3 years for manslaughter. She was the mother of 10. Her family was irrevocably ripped apart. This was life-changing.
Yeah.
Right? I had heard the story from my grandmother as a young child. But during the time when we fought, you remember that murder, that massacre that happened at Dollar General on Kings Road?
I do, yes.
A couple of years ago?
I do. Yep.
Really sad time. But there was a hate crime bill that was introduced. I amended that bill to change the name to Johnny Mae's Law because I wanted to say her name. I wanted people to remember that in 1964, something similar happened. And we shouldn't be dealing with the same issue in 2023 or 4 or 5.
I agree.
Right? When we put that in, Johnny Mae's law did not pass. But because you had someone sitting at the table that was not usually there, we were able to get a historic marker and get designation to say that Johnny Mae Chappelle was here and her life mattered. And do you know how I got that done? With my colleague, Nick Howland, who is a Republican, chaired the Finance Committee, chairs the Rules Committee. That's how you make change, working together little by little to find the spaces where synergy exists, not differences.
Nick Howland is a friend of the show. And so, Nick, appreciate you, brother. You're always,
that's my brother.
You've always been a huge part of us and what we're doing, man. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We're talking about humanity a little bit, and it's such I don't want to say a controversial topic, but it sure feels like it can be.
It certainly can be.
We had an immigration law that that was passed, and obviously the mayor chose not to sign and/or veto. It has sparked all kinds of discussion, in numerous directions. What are your thoughts? What's your take? Have an opportunity to talk to your constituents here and tell them.
I was one of the most vociferous advocates against that law. I think it was unnecessary. The Supreme Court opined that immigration is a federal jurisdiction.
Yeah.
ICE, that's their job. We as local elected officials should not be venturing and stepping into that. Not only did I do it, I wrote a paper about it that included anecdotal evidence, that included case law references, that even introduced a substitution for the bill. Now, while it didn't pass, it still moved the discussion forward.
Yeah.
I think the mayor was well within her right. I believe that she should not have signed that legislation, but nor do I believe she should veto that legislation. Yeah. There's some things that need to be vetoed. We also have to be pragmatic. The mayor did not have a veto-proof majority of that. If the veto-proof majority was there and we believed it was, that should move forward. But looking at the votes, it tells you the veto-proof majority wasn't there. So don't sign it. We're in another case like that with the mayor. I recently wrote a letter. It was on the front page of the paper and asked the mayor not to sign this bill banning food trucks from gas stations. I think it's another bad bill. It's a bad piece of legislation.
Interesting.
They said that food trucks present a public safety hazard at gas stations. So I'm assuming that we have this endemic of food trucks blowing up at gas stations. I haven't seen it. And the data that I brought to the table said that it doesn't exist.
I've seen more people smoke cigarettes at gas stations than I've seen food trucks. That's such an interesting law.
Well, also, there are people who I've done the research. I had physicists say that it is entirely possible for a wool sweater to cause an explosion at a gas station. Yeah. But you don't see them banning wool sweaters.
No, they don't.
So the question is why? What's different about it? But I have sent a letter to the mayor's office requesting that she not sign that legislation either. We do know that the legislation will become law. And I certainly don't want to defy the will of the council as a whole, but I also must make sure that those people are protected, that people know we see them, we hear them, and what they have to say matters. And one way the mayor can do that is by keeping her signature off legislation that's absolutely nonsensical.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Councilman, I would love nothing more if I'd like to extend the invitation. Sure. Normally our episodes are somewhere between 45 and 60 minutes, and I'd love to sit down with you and have a full episode with you so we can really openly discuss these ideas. For now, I know that we're trying to discuss all kinds of topics with our businesses that are here and all of our patrons here at Think Bold. And so I want to ask one final question before we go. Sure. Anybody that's on the other side of the camera, let them, why are we so bullish on this town right now? It doesn't have to just be economic, and I understand we talked about that we're a mile wide, and we're becoming a mile deep, right? The port, the businesses that are being constructed here in downtown, the Emerald Trail, all the different projects that are taking place. I think that all of that's very exciting. But, in terms of Jacksonville being an underrepresented city against Miami and Tampa and Orlando, why can people be bullish about coming here, staying here, and being a part of this?
Well, the beauty is we can look at the Miamis and the Tampas and the Orlandos and even the New Yorks and Seattles and other places, and we can see where the mistakes are. Yeah. And we can see how to make it better in Jacksonville. We have more land than any other city in the continental United States. Yep. Right? We have an opportunity to look at not just the land, but a difference of people and people who want change and want to see something different. So even I sit on the land use and zoning and rules committees. We're able to look at those, I call them mistakes, but let's say missteps that were made in other communities. And I think people see that. Yeah. They see the growth. They see the cranes downtown. Yeah. They see the new things coming in, not just new, but new and innovative. Things that have never been this way before. So why are we bullish on Jacksonville? Because the opportunity is there, right? We have one of the greatest medical landscapes in the country. right? With UF Health and the Mayo Clinic. There are great things happening here. MD Anderson. So Jacksonville is a game changer. And we're at the precipice of understanding how to use it most effectively. And I think seeing the Charlottes and Atlantas and other places that were where we are 20, 30 years ago, we also see the missteps, right? 100%. We don't want to have Spaghetti Junction traffic like they do in Atlanta. We don't want that in Jacksonville. And how do we keep that from happening? Quite simply by planning. Looking at the opportunities that exist and looking at the missteps of the past in other cities. And that's why Jacksonville will move forward consistently.
I've said on many episodes, I happen to be from Austin, Texas. So I spent my first 19
which is amazing. Austin is an amazing city.
I spent my first 19 years in Austin, and I spent my second 19 years in Jacksonville.
Sure.
And one thing I've said about the economic boom with cities like Austin and Nashville were that they were big cities in tax-free states with a river flowing through the heart of downtown.
Yes.
And you think like, well, Jacksonville, Florida is a big city in a tax-free state. We got a river flowing through the heart of downtown. It's obviously it's great to see that we're doing so many amazing things in the city. We're finally starting to push forward and start to see the fruits of our labor.
Yeah.
I would like to know, because I'm sure that I'm not the only one in asking this, how can people get involved? I mean, you guys are doing a lot at the council level. Obviously, we have a great mayor who's trying to move things forward.
Absolutely.
But how can the citizens get involved?
I would say pay attention, right? I'm in the process right now of putting together a way for the council, right now to watch council meetings, something simple. You got to go through like this whole cadre of stuff, clicking this and going to that and moving around. Very shortly, we're going to have it where you just click on YouTube and there's a council meeting, which should be like that anyway, right?
It should. In 2025, it should.
It really should.
Yeah.
But there's been some, there's some things that we've got to get together. The funds are appropriated. It's just making the technology that has been used talk to each other. No one wants to spend another $100,000 on technology when you got technology. So the question is, how do you get the existing technology to talk to that technology until we get the money so that we can revamp the whole thing?
Yeah.
That's going to be coming soon. But being engaged, right? Making sure, one of the changes we made was we changed the website from coj.net to jacksonville.gov, right? Placemaking, logging onto the website, looking at when the council meetings happen. We meet every other week, every second and fourth Tuesday, we meet for council meetings. Every first and third Monday and Tuesday are committee meetings. Unlike any other city in the country, we have a 19-member city council, which is pretty big. But we're doing the work consistently. So we're working year round. We take 2 breaks, one in the summer, one in the winter. But for the most part, we're working.
Yeah.
And we're constantly composing legislation. But my thing is, people think that it doesn't mean anything. I answer every call, every email, every text message.
Yeah.
I think that's what's important, engagement. I want to know, not just, here's the thing, because of the consolidated city of Jacksonville, I don't just represent District 14 on the west side. Love the west side. Going to fight for the west side every moment I'm on the council. But I'm also a county commissioner.
Yeah.
Right? So I have to think about the entirety of the city of Jacksonville when I'm making these decisions. I can't do that. There's no way for me to cover 875 square miles of space and stuff.
Yeah.
But I can certainly get the information if people are engaged enough to say, well, wait a minute, this is what's happening in my district, or this is what I need to move things forward. And how do we do that? We do it by connecting and engaging. So my biggest piece of advice would say, people come to the council meetings.
Yeah.
Look at how things work.
Yeah.
Email your council members, call your council members. That's how you change the game.
Yeah. That's so fantastic.
Yeah.
How do people learn to dress better and dress like their local councilman here, man? You look
Oh man, today, let me tell you, today is an interesting day. I'm coming from a funeral, but that's my fun space, right? I like cool clothes. I'm an actor, right? I'm academic and professor, but I'm a fun person, right? At least I hope to think I'm fun.
It's coming across that way.
I like to have a good time, and I think, we shouldn't pigeonhole ourselves into just being what people think we should be, right? I'm African American. I wear traditional clothes, sometimes African clothes, right? But the other day I was at an Indian American event, their Diwali celebration, as well as India's Republic Day.
Yeah.
I was doing a Filipino event. I've got clothes in my closet now that are Filipino, the Filipino shirts that they wear, really nice and fun and cool. I've got kurtas and sherwani and other ethnic attire in my closet.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because that's a part of this community. That's the beauty of America.
Yeah, we're a melting pot.
No. Can I correct you on that?
Please do.
We're not a melting pot. We're a salad bowl.
Oh.
And the reason I like saying we're salad, because think about it. You got a salad, but you may want anchovies and some other pieces of meat in your salad. I may want strawberries and watermelon in my salad, but at the end of the day, it's a salad, right? And the individual flavors of that salad make that salad amazing, right? So I look at us as a salad bowl, and it's a cornucopia of flavor and fun, and I can play with it. So sometimes I may wear clothes of other ethnicities. Why? Because that's what America is all about. It gives me the opportunity to be proud of who I am, but to also be proud of who you are. And that's the beauty of this community.
Yeah. Councilman, first and foremost, thank you so much for being here. I really formally, I would like to invite you to come on
I look forward to it.
on a longer session.
I look forward to it. Thank you. Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too.